First off this story, I want to say this is a pretty nice little setup here. Pretty slick little boat. I'll go over a few things with you though. Get your running gear in tip-top condition and stuff that I would do for now to use the boat. I mean, your finish is in pretty good shape. I mean, it's got a couple weird things. Like a random cleat and rope that's back there weren't original. I'll get back to that. So, your engine, a lot of the times these flatheads, they need torqued over time. Now, if this engine's been worked on, and kind of see right here, maybe a little bit of water's been seeping out. It's better out than in, but we can retorque the head, and hopefully some of these bolts will move, or some of these studs will move. Maybe the engine's been worked on, head gasket changed, or maybe it's been rebuilt and it wasn't retorqued. Sometimes you get by with one, 2 or 3 retorques, but then sometimes I've had it take up to 5 times before it stopped moving. But in the book even tells you to retorque until it stops after each use. You bring it to temperature and eventually it'll stop moving. So we have a impeller pump here. It's not a gear pump, so I'd probably change that impeller, especially if you don't know when it's been changed. On your shaft here, I believe the packing nut is probably cinched all the way in. There's a rope in there. When you compress it, it expands in width. So that's what seals your prop shaft, seals the water out from your prop shaft to in here. But I believe, as you can see, this bulges out. And this is your shaft log right here, but it bulges out from that shaft log, and then it's pretty long. And it's actually so long that it's rubbing. This is your shaft coupler. This is stationary. This rotates with the engine. So you can see that pretty glitter, that brass where it's been rubbing. So we ought to put the correct size in here, and that should take care of that issue there. The tank is stainless. I believe it's stainless. No, actually I think it is aluminum. There's a tag on there. I have to look at the tag. It may have Rayco on there. It may be one of ours. Actually, it wouldn't be one of ours, because first off, that ground lug's different than ours, and then also up here, that's your fuel pickup. That's a hex nut on that. The new style of fuel pickup would actually be a square head on top. I would recommend changing that. They actually put a carburetor jet in there for an anti-siphon, and over time that corrodes and that hole gets slightly bigger, and eventually you basically lose your siphon at about a half a tank of fuel. And you think you're empty, but you got a half a tank. So you'll check your fuel and you'll think you got something else going wrong with the engine, like a bad fuel pump. But typically you change that $40 part out, and it's working again. So, but I would add, we could change this copper line to a U.S. Coast Guard rubber line, but I would definitely, or we can leave it in there. I would definitely put a water separator / fuel filter in there that doubles as both. And it's a spin-on filter. It kind of looks like an oil filter that you would have on your car. So once we get the running gear took care of course, we take it out, lake test it. Another thing I found with your running gear, you can see this wear on the strut. There's also kind of a curve. You can see the wear on the back of the prop. The prop is okay. I mean, it's usable. It's got a couple dings in it. And if I can get my camera to focus on it, that would be awesome. I would just get it reworked. You can go with an Acme prop if you wanted, or if you wanted a spare prop, work this prop and then go with it and do an Acme for your everyday use. I would get that straightened up. There's also of course we'll be changing this with the prop, but this is also steel, not stainless steel, because it's rusted. So with that being worn right there, well, see, it's loose. It's pulled itself out of the hub, but this would have been kind of pushing up against that. Basically, your shaft is too short. So your shaft is a 1 inch diameter. You want to be a 1/2 inch to 1 inch clearance between the strut and the prop. And one reason being is the strut bearing in here is a piece of rubber, and it's got veins basically that are cut out longitudinal, and it's kind of lubricating the shaft as you're going down the lake. So you want that water to be able to exit and not sit in there and boil, because that gets pretty hot. I would imagine that there's, I can feel some grooves right here. You can kind of see the grooves. So that whole section of the shaft is probably got those. But you can get a new shaft anyway, because that's too short. So I did notice you have a no-soak bottom on here, which is pretty good. That's very good, actually. One thing to keep your shaft from pulling out when you go in reverse is that set screw. And what you'll do is you'll drill a little dimple in the shaft that lines up with that set screw. So when you go in reverse and the shaft is pulling this way, then it doesn't actually pull the shaft out of the hub. So that's what that is there for. And then on to your hatch here. You've got, as it's coming down, it's kind of hanging up on this back corner. We can shave it off with the hand plane pretty easily. But you have quite a bit of space up here. So if it were mine, I would actually remove the screws from the deck. I'd remove these screws, dowel the holes, bump the hatch up a little bit, and refasten it into the deck. And then that problem would go away. Your bilge pump is under the rear seat. It's under the aft seat here. And it's got this external float. Trying to get those set right sometimes is kind of a pain. I would recommend changing it to automatic float. And that's kind of an old bilge pump there. I've got a bilge pump in my Malibu. It's a 95, and I just had to change it out this last weekend because the little spinner thing, I can't think, the little fan blade actually spun off of it. So it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to go ahead and just change it anyway. But I would put it under your front seat. That's the lowest point of your boat in the water or out of the water if your trailer's level. So I would put it right here where your drain plug is. There's a little piece of stainless missing here. We can actually put a polished piece of stainless in there. It's not too big of a deal. Well, let's see here. Your bottom paint kind of looks like copper bronze, but not quite. It's either a topside paint or an epoxy paint. I'm not sure which one. It's not in bad shape. This would be something I would do later on down the road, like, enjoy it for the season and then do something about it. Of course, your boot stripe is really high too. But usually the top of it's about where my finger is. So it's probably a good 2 inches, 1.5 to 2 inches too high. And if you notice in the front, it actually droops down. Just kind of takes a dive. Both sides do that. So we can actually laser this off and straighten that line out. It's going to bring it quite a bit higher. You could sand off the white. If you did maintenance coats on the sides, you could sand off the white, and you know, maybe if it's varnished there, you'll get lucky, and then we can, you know, lower the boot stripe. I'm not really sure. That could be a can of worms. I think I would enjoy it, get a few more years out of it, and then just, you know, do a strip and refinish and fix it then. I think is what I would do. But I'll do whatever you want me to. I could at least straighten it out. If you wanted to, we could at least straighten it out and just have it, you have a straight line, and then, you know, copper bronze paint, which would have been the original. It looks like somebody's had chrome decals on here in the past. These can be dialed and filled, and then we can just do a color touch up on it and a little varnish touch up for the time being, if you didn't want to do your varnish work right away. You can kind of see the line, the old numbers, see an outline of the decals. That may sand off if we sand this area through the coats that are over that, and then sand that off. And if you choose to do maintenance coats on the sides or sides index or however, we'll recut these vinyl graphics here. They're a little bit short anyway, of only 2 inches. It should be 3, but you know, but you can see the old numbers in here on this side a little better, the way the light's hitting it. And there's some road rash. Like I said, we can do little touch-up spots, or do maintenance coats on the sides, or even just do one maintenance coat on the side even. And you got the little holes over here too. These 3 together would have been the star. So Chris Craft, and then Chris, and then the star, and then Craft over here. There's 2 little alignment pins on the stars. I believe there's one little road rash spot back here. But you can eliminate things. You can eliminate these, and you can dial these up or plug these off, the holes. These weren't on the back, would not have been original. But I mean, you can leave them back here if you want, especially if you're tying off this eye and you're tying down low to a dock. Usually I tie up kind of high, so I don't even use rope guides on mine usually. I had a sister boat 2 years in here about a week ago. Could have showed you, but the rope guides on the back would have been what would have been on the front. This is more of a pre-war thing usually, where they're closed in like that. So not a horrible thing. Like I said, great user boat. The interior's in great shape. Also, we could do if you want authentic material, we can do an authentic and upholstery with this. So, but I mean, it's great usable condition right now. Unless you're looking for a show winner, I wouldn't, you know, worry about it unless you just want to change the color or something like that. But I noticed on this bow stop, there's been a varnish repair, it looks like here, and there's a spot on the other side too. I'm going to take my razor blade, and I can't even get my razor blade in there. It's pretty tight. So I would put these, if this were mine, we can do a bow stop like our signature bow stops, but you could actually rotate that arm, and we could rotate that to where it actually matches the angle and touches this. If you want to do a bow stop, we could cut this off and then put our kicker on there, and then use the base that's here already as a base for a bow stop. I'll kind of show you one of ours that we've built here. As you can see it, I'm gonna move the broom out of the way. As you can see, this turnbuckle will move this back and forward. So the idea being is when you load the boat and your back end of the boat comes down, the front end of the boat comes up. It'll pivot up. So, and you're usually about 3 inches away from your bow stop arms, or your goalpost arms here. So the idea being is you can cinch this up, lean it forward 3 inches, and then when you load the boat, you just bring it back to touch the boat, and that's where it should be. There's no slamming the brakes and sliding it forward and all that fun stuff. But what you have is is usable. I would, if you did want to keep what you have, I would change the angle of these though, so that way they're not touching your varnish. I'm trying to get a good view of the, to make this thing focus. You can see where there was a varnish repair there in the past. So I'll get the estimates out to you. Do with, you know, whatever you want to do. If it were mine, I would get your running gear together and running strong, and you know, your prop shaft and your prop and all. You know, make sure it's ready to go mechanically. Enjoy it. It is a beautiful boat. If it were mine, I would do that. I would enjoy it. And then this winter, it's like, okay, I want to do some maintenance coach, or I want to do, you know, change this boot stripe, see if we can't bring it down, and stuff like that. So I mean, that's my 2 cents. You may want to show winter out of the gate. I'm not sure, but so here it is, and we'll get something out to you soon. Thanks.